is ongoing here at the Ministry of Information. And by extension, in fact, it is your office. It is your office. So the ministry is bringing your office up to an unimaginable standard. And so you're going to show the world your new office. Today we, again, want to welcome all of you here at the Ministry of Information, Culture, Affairs and Tourism. We have as our distinguished guest the Honorable Stephen Mambu. He is the Director General at the Liberia Standard Authority, LISA. The Liberia Standard Authority is an entity of government, and Mr. Mambu is here to share with you on some of the development, some of the initiatives that his entity is involved with, what they are doing to ensure that the standard of commodities on the Liberian market cannot be compromised. So we'd like to welcome you, sir, to the Ministry of Information regular press briefing. We also like to give due recognition to our distinguished minister, Honorable Jarolimek Piah, who is accompanied by all members of the senior management team of the Ministry of Information. Today we're going to be very pointed, and we're going to throw light, as always, on some of the good things that are happening for us as a country. But first, I'd like to begin by announcing that His Excellency President Joseph Piahcand Sr. will be joining other West African heads of states, including the ECOWAS Chairman, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to attend the main celebration of the 50th anniversary of the formation of ECOWAS. That event will take place in Lagos, Nigeria. Lagos became obvious the choice as the treaty establishing ECOWAS was signed in Lagos in 1975. Nigeria's former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, who is the only surviving founding father of ECOWAS, is expected to grace the occasion. According to ECOWAS, the celebration in Lagos is essentially an exercise for the revalidation of the commitment that member countries have continued to express to the regional body after 50 years. So our president is going there, and as we speak, he's currently at the Rabat International Airport to depart the country. The countdown is on, and we have exactly 7 days to go until Liberia is elected on the Security Council of the United Nations. Don't forget, the election takes place on June 3rd, 2025, at the United Nations headquarters in New York, the United States of America. And as announced here the other day, our dynamic minister, the Honorable Jarolimek Piah, will be joining the foreign minister and other members of the Liberian government to form part of the delegation to the U.S. that will witness this election in person. It will be a historic election I will witness our country being elected for the second time to the Security Council of the United Nations. Now, for some of you who don't know what the Security Council is, I have to say that that body is the apex of global decision making. Every day we are confronted with the issue of peace, global peace and security, decisions that shape global trends, global issues are made at the highest level of the United Nations, which is the Security Council. And so this is no joke. As a country, we have placed a lot of time, energy, and resources in this endeavor. And we have the surety from the team headed by the Dean of the President's Cabinet, the Honorable Sarah Beslow Yanti, that it's just a matter of time. We have gotten the commitment from member states of the United Nations to be voted to the non-permanency of the Security Council. So yes, we are told that while the election is ongoing in the U.S., a watch party will also be held at the Foreign Ministry. So it's a patriotic call to all of you. Whether you are in the diaspora, you are here, you need to publicize this event. You need to show that spirit of patriotism. And so on the 3rd of June, while the vote is taking place in Washington, Liberians from all walks of life, across party lines, were assembled at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to witness this historic event. And by that, I'm also extending you, members of the local press here, an invitation to come and be part of history making. We continue to witness tremendous progress, if not in the rural connectivity across the country. You see that the Liberia Electricity Corporation has become very outstanding in ensuring the availability of power. Power is not just available, but you see that across the cities, whether it's across the bridge, whether it's in Central Monrovia, whether it's in Queensville, whether it's in Bannersville, the Robert Street Highway, you see street lights are being planted. This is part of the government's own way of ensuring public safety and thereby mitigating street crimes. Because you bear witness that most of the street crimes are normally perpetrated in the dark, under the covers of darkness. And with the planting of these street lights, which has coincidentally met the availability of electricity, street crime will be reduced, public safety, people who drive in the night, we have better vision, and the livelihood of the city has been restored. Because you know, a lot of good things can happen when electricity is available. So we also listened to the Minister of Public Works last night on one of the local talk shows, and he made some very strong and interesting revelation that the government of Liberia have narrowed down on the price of the yellow machine, and that by the end of this year, the machines will be here. Each county will receive 19 pieces, as was previously announced by the government. And I have to say that our distinguished Vice President is heading the team, and the government now have everything in place to get the yellow machine in the country. Why? Because it is part of the president's priority to ensure that every county in Liberia can have a functional road maintenance zone. And the minister also said yesterday that demolition of structures in the alleyway have been slowed because as a government we do not have the equipment. So that demolition of structures in alleyway, which is aimed at beautifying our city, will be accelerated with the availability of these yellow machines. I drove through the old road yesterday, and at some point you can see Tottenham Boulevard on the old road because alleys are being opened. We'd like to say thanks to Minister Giddings and his team. Minister Giddings also revealed last night that by next dry season, the entire corridor from Ganta to Zwegu will be occupied with asphalt pavement. Asphalt pavement means to put water on the road from Ganta to Zwegu. He further stated that by May next year, the Zwegu to Karibo to Piahcand road will be occupied with asphalt pavement as well. This development will help to close the dusty road gap that currently dominates in the southeast. He indicated further that the entire southeast of Liberia will be connected to Nairobi. The ministry will complete pavement of road in the southeast by the end of 2029. So these are good news for the country, and we won't help but to highlight them because even though some people want to make it appear that nothing good is happening here, but as a ministry we have the duty to place more focus on the progress that the government is making. Yesterday, we have previously mentioned here that one of the primary focus of the government, the President, His Excellency President Piahcand, was to restore Liberia's position in the Committee of Nations. That includes multilateral organizations that Liberia is doing business with. And one of those organizations is the IMO. You all know the history of what happened to the people we sent at the IMO in the past regime. It was on the radio, raining invectives. At some point, some of them were being arrested for sexual offenses. All those things have to dim the light of the country at those international levels. Fast forward, President Piahcand has sent somebody who is competent, prepared, and ready to do the job at the IMO. And what they have basically done is to reposition Liberia as a global maritime leader. So on yesterday, Liberia officially launched a bid for re-election to the IMO Council Category A. The event was held in London. It was attended by high-level diplomats, IMO member states delegation, officials from the Liberia Maritime Authority led by HCO Councilor Lito Zaza Lai, and Liberia representatives, including Ambassador Genevieve Kennedy. During the launch, Councillor Lai reaffirmed Liberia's long-standing commitment to maritime safety, sustainability, and leadership, highlighting the country's role as a founding member of the IO since 1949 and its contribution to maritime policy and safety. He expressed gratitude to key supporters and partners for their involvement in the campaign. From the local teams and from all the information we gathered, Liberia is setting to get elected to Category A of the World Maritime Organization. So two good things on the international front are happening simultaneously. Liberia is wanting to be elected on the UN Security Council as a non-permanent member, vis-a-vis our fight to be re-elected to Category A of the World Maritime Organization. This is good, and we say thanks to our permanent rep, Ambassador Monsieur Piah, Councillor Lai, for ably representing the country. A couple of days ago, it was reported by some media entity that the bridge linking the Grand Bazaar University to the rest of the city of Piahcand has been abandoned. And when these things happen, it put the government in a position where they will not just provide the facts to prove it wrong, but it proved that there are still some problems with the way some of us go about doing our journalistic function. That bridge has not been abandoned. When we listen to the commentary on the radio, say the contractor abandoned the bridge, pay the money, he left. So the Ministry of Public Works responded by clarifying that the bridge, the construction of the bridge is on course, is ongoing, and is progressing well, contrary to media reports claiming that the project has been abandoned. The contractor has completed the abutment and is currently backfilling that seam with rocks, and it is intended to give a deliberate elevation to increase the force and the resilience of the structure. The ministry announced that the bridge in question will be imported into the country, and everything has been done, the foundation has been built, and by August this year, that bridge will arrive in the country, it will be installed. So contrary to media report that the project was abandoned, it is not true. The project is on course. Everything that was to be done locally has been done, and the bridge will arrive in the country in August, and it will be deployed and installed. The Ministry of Justice is pleased to inform the public that an autopsy was requested in the suspicious death of 19-year-old Jarolimek Mosima. He died on January 6, 2025, while in police custody at the Vondiama Police Depot in Vondiama City, local county. As part of that request from the family, an autopsy was conducted on 22nd March 2025 by a state pathologist, Dr. Benedict Cody, in the presence of family members of the late Mosima and members of various law enforcement agencies at the Telewunya Memorial Hospital in local county. The autopsy report has established that the cause of death is unnatural. In view of the above, the Ministry of Justice has launched an immediate investigation based on the findings of the autopsy report, and will keep the public up to date as the investigation progresses. So part of our duty as a government is not just to arrest individuals on crimes that are committed. Our duty is also to investigate when foul play is reported. So as a responsible government, there was indication that foul play, the death was not, natural. So the autopsy as requested for by the family was conducted. And I got to prove that this 19-year-old fellow died on a natural death. And so an investigation has ensued. And we keep working with the Ministry of Justice to provide you the relevant information as they are made available to us. A high-level multi-party delegation from India, comprising current and former officials, is expected to arrive in Liberia at the end of May. Liberia has been selected as one of the West African countries to host the delegation, which includes 9 current members of parliament, senior political figures, and former diplomats. The delegation is scheduled to arrive in Monrovia on the evening of May 31st and will depart on the morning of June 3rd. During their visit, the delegation plans to meet with Excellency President Joseph Piahcand and Vice President Jarolimek, Foreign Minister Sarah Bensoyanti, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Richard Nambekun, and the President pro tempore of the Liberian Senate, Senator Nyombi Kanda Lawrence. This engagement aims to brief Liberian authority on the government of India's position regarding recent global development, including a terror attack in that area and other related geopolitical issues. The delegation will hold discussion with members of the diplomatic and consular corps, the Indian community in Liberia, local think tanks, media editors, and other stakeholders. The Minister of Finance and Development Planning, Honorable Augustine Piahcand, has departed Liberia as head of a high-level delegation to participate in the 2025 annual meetings of the African Development Bank, which is being held in Cote d'Ivoire from May 26th today to the 30th. The delegation will represent Liberia in key engagements during the meeting, which bring together policymakers and stakeholders from across the African continent and beyond. A central focus of this year's gathering will be the election of a new president for the African Development Bank Group. This comes as the current president concludes his second 5-year term. There has been outcry in the public about the presence of Burkinabe in some part of the country, and that has drawn the attention of the government. So the Liberia Immigration Service has launched registration for Burkinabe citizens in Liberia. And this exercise aims to identify and determine the total number of Burkinabe nationals that are residing in Liberia. The move comes amid growing concern over the increasing number of Burkinabé citizens living in the country without proper immigration documentation. This initiative is not aimed at targeting or deporting Burkinabé citizens. Rather, it is intended to bring order and accountability to the immigration system while fostering peaceful coexistence. LRS authorities have initiated a comprehensive registration campaign to determine how they got here, how many of them are living here, so that just in case anything happens, the government can be able to account for who is involved. So the first phase of the registration will be focused in the southeast, where a large number of these Burkinabé are reported to be residents. So they will be documented. They are Africans, and of course they are called by protocols to which Liberia is signatory. We cannot deport them, but we have to ensure that they are properly documented and that they can be accounted for while on Liberian soil. With that being said, I will now want to pause and invite Mr. Mambu to the podium. He will speak to you, and then after it's concluded, we'll take some questions from the press. You're welcome, sir.
On behalf of the Council, Management and Staff of the Liberia Standards Authority, RISA, I wish to extend my thanks and appreciation to the Minister, Honorable Piah, and the MICAT family for granting us the opportunity to use this platform in order to reach our Liberian people and the world at large. Permit me to say, Honorable Minister, that your work at MICAT since your appointment is an epitome of a new breed of transformative leadership that has emerged to change the dynamic in public service. Please accept my thanks and appreciation for the progress thus far. My appearance on this press briefing marks a new stage for LISA, the quest to bring the institution and its services to the people of Liberia. This is one of the stark objectives of this present government, to make sure that the services of government institutions are brought closer to the people so that the issue of accessibility will be ascertained. This reaffirmed the commitment and determination of the government of Liberia under the stewardship of our Honorable President, His Excellency Joseph Boakai, to transform Liberia through the arrest agenda for inclusive development. At this point also, I wish to recognize the patronage and support received from the private sector through the Chambers of Commerce, the Liberia Business Association, the Manufacturer Association of Liberia, and the Consumer Association of Liberia for their support for the passage of the Liberia Standards Act. This also demonstrates the tremendous urge within the private sector to ensure that the government puts into place institutional arrangement that will enhance the business or the private sector development. And I also want to recognize the support that was received also from the public sector, especially the National Fishery and Aquaculture Authority and the Tactical Working Group on Codex and Food Safety. These are groups that stood with us to ensure that the National Standards Act or the Liberia Standards Act was passed. For today's press briefing, I've come to do two things: to introduce the Liberia Standards Act, what it is, and also the Liberia Standards Authority. This forms a major part of our campaign, especially creating public awareness of this noble institution and to show that proper information about its function is disseminated in a more comprehensive way. What is the background of the Liberia Standards Act and that of the Liberia Standards Authority? Well, I would like to say that Liberia, like any other West African country or nations, realized that the significant key to economic development is ensuring an active participation in regional and global markets by producing products and services that must meet regulatory and market-related quality, safety, health, and environmental requirements. This also called for a strong national quality infrastructure to support industry, trade, environment, and consumer health and safety. In view of this, it is imperative to put into place measures and institutional mechanisms to ensure that all goods and services for domestic and international markets meet quality, environmental, health, and safety standards, thereby strongly contributing to government sustainability development. Based on the above, the Liberian government, through the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, with the overwhelming support of the private sector and development partners, as well as ECOWAS, helped to validate and to submit the Liberia Standards Act in 2018, which was passed into law in 2022 and operationalized in 2024. The Liberian Act is a law establishing the national standards body of this country, which now we call the Liberia Standards Authority, with the major responsibility to provide national standards and other trade facilitator services in areas of what we call conformity assessment, that has to do with testing, inspections, and certification, and also to make sure that the issue of measurement that promote fair trade in our domain of trade is established. The Liberia Standards Act is necessary in order to make sure that Liberian needs for a sound national quality infrastructure is achieved in order to make sure that we support the strategic economic goals that we have. The Liberia Standards Act provides essentially the legal and administrative framework for the establishment of the Liberia Standards Authority. What are the important roles that the Liberia Standards Authority play in our national economy according to the Liberia Standards Act? These are the following roles, very key, that the Liberia Standards Authority must play. One, we have to ensure that the provision of the country's quality infrastructure to facilitate trade is in place. In an era where global trading has become the norm of the day, no country can be left without participation. a key element of this global trade is to ensure that every country must meet what we call market entry requirements in order to comply with international standards, and also as an evidence of compliance through recognized standards, measurement systems, and to make sure that products, services that emanates from any country in order to get into the regional or international market meets standards. With this said, I just want to emphasize that no matter how the government of Liberia will negotiate for economic development to make sure that we participate in regional trade or global trade, it also left with the country or said country to ensure that its goods and services that will enter international regional market meets standard specification. And because of this, you need the National Standards Authority to ensure that we can provide the necessary tools for trade, especially standards, and to ensure that we can provide the necessary services that our goods and products from Liberia will enter regional and international market by meeting the necessary trade or regional requirements. The National Standards Authority also is needed to support Liberian industries and SMEs. A functional national quality infrastructure helps to increase productivity in manufacturing and service delivery. Just over the weekend, last Friday, I participated in ECOWAS arranged program for the SMEs, and to ensure that we could tell the SMEs about the services that were available to enhance their productivity, and to ensure that all Liberian SMEs have the equal opportunity to enhance their productivity and to ensure that they can enter the market. So with that, we were able to give a lot of information to the SMEs as to how they can access our services, and to ensure that our objective to help the SMEs meet quality and requirement in order to enhance their market entry. Especially so when in Africa currently, Liberia is participating in the ECOWAS liberalization and scheme, which also allows the West African countries to begin to trade among themselves. In order for Liberian products or institutions, industries to have advantage to participate in such regional or international market, obviously the Liberia Standards Authority must provide those services to ensure the competitiveness of our industry or SMEs to participate in such trade. The Liberia Standards Authority is also there to provide sustainability of production systems that will improve what we call environmental protection through sustainability, consumption, and production, healthcare, consumer production, protection, and to ensure national health. Now, what this means is this: we also provide services for the regulatory framework that we have, especially with government ministries and agencies, to ensure that consumers are protected. It is incumbent for every government to ensure that our citizens are not just exposed, but they are protected from any harmful effect of use or either goods or processes in production and what enters our market. So currently, what are the primary activities and related functions that are in place when it comes to the Liberia Standards Authority? We have two major types of functions. We have our primary function, which is to provide standards and to make sure that those standards cut across every sector. So standards are not just there for goods or products, they are also there for services. So what it means that by our act, we are down with the authority to ensure that standards are available for products, that being goods, that are manufactured here, and goods that are imported from abroad, and also goods that are intended to be traded into the regional or international market. We are down with the responsibility to make sure that we provide such prescriptions or specifications, and those specifications should enable our product to enter market. We are also responsible to ensure that we provide information about standard and related services that we have. We are also responsible to make sure that we can conduct appropriate training activities in standardization for our own staff as well as stakeholders. Because whenever you introduce standards, they also require that training be provided in order for those who use the standard understand how to use the standard and how to meet up with the standards. We are also responsible to make sure that we spearhead and coordinate processes that Liberia is involved in regional and international standard harmonization ventures. You may know that, for example, ECOWAS has moved to ensure that we have a regional trade bloc. One of the key pillars is to make sure that all ECOWAS countries have the same level of standards and technical regulations to make sure that trade is seamless. That means if we test, certify, or inspect product from Liberia, that product doesn't need to be tested in Ghana or in Nigeria, where it can have easy access. So, with that, we have been participating in what we call standard harmonization to ensure that Liberia has a voice in standard formation and to make sure that our country specifics is also enshrined in those standards. So we have been involved in regional standard harmonization, representing the country in those fora, and also the African Union, as you know, is also moving towards a regional trade unity in order for to have seamless trade activities. That also involves making sure that we develop what we call African standards. So the Liberia Standards Authority represents Liberia in those kind of fora in order to make sure that the Liberia has say in these things. We are also responsible to ensure that anything that called measurement for trade has a fair play. There's something we call fair trade, and fair trade, promoting fair trade in such a way that whatsoever a consumer pays for which he or she receives based on measurement, that measurement should be regulated. For example, if you go to the gas station, in order to buy your fuel, obviously you will pay certain amount for a gallon of petrol. The next question I will ask, how sure are you that the money you pay is actually the quantity of petrol that you receive? The next thing is that, how sure are you the money you pay for 25 kg of rice is actually 25 kg of rice that you get? How sure are you that when you buy a bag of cement, the quantity within the bag of cement is what you actually pay for? So that's what we call fair trade. You understand? Whereas what you pay for, you should also receive. The Liberia Standards Authority also gone with the responsibility to make sure that every measurement that is done within the territorial bounds of Liberia, there are certainty that those measurements indeed they are fair and they commensurate with the value of money that is paid. So that's why we call metrology, not meteorology. Meteorology is the study of weather. Metrology is the study of measurement. You understand? So currently, the Liberia Standards Authority has the country national standards in the basic measurement fields. That is, for example, when it comes to mass. When I say mass, take for example your balances. Some of you go to the grocery store, maybe the supermarket, in order to buy groceries, and maybe you want to buy apple. And you will see in each of these supermarkets, they will weigh the apple and then charge you to pay. Have you ever imagined to ask if indeed those scales that they use actually do measure the sanctity of their measurement, and what you're getting or what they're charging you is actually what it's supposed to be? Or have you gone to the meat seller and you say you want 2 pounds of meat, and here's the scale, and they measure it and say, oh, bossman, the 2 pounds of meat is maybe 500 or 1,005 LD. Have you ever thought that those scales actually measure the pound that it says it measures? Have you ever thought that even in the transaction of Firestone with local rubber producers where they measure latex and then they charged the latex by the kilo or whatsoever measurement that they do? How many years have this been done? But yet still, those scales maybe the concession companies use, they have never been calibrated, or there's no certainty that indeed our local farmers are not cheated by the measurement of those scales. Have you ever thought about the cocoa industry, where our local cocoa farmers, their cocoa produce are bought based on measurement? And we show that those measurements indeed that are done, and what our Liberian farmers receive indeed, they are what it is. Just to open your mind, you know, for you to understand the essential services that we provide that is very crucial to this nation. The Liberia Standards Act actually was established to make sure that the national development of our country is brought on a critical context with the establishment of this act. So it is based on transparency, openness, consensus, impartiality, and what we call technical credibility. So the act itself, it is there to provide the legal framework, and it is based on policy direction. So Liberia has what we call the National Quality Policy, which actually establishes the basis for which the National Standards Authority is established. And this policy is also in line with ECOWAS and also in line with AU quality policy. So the policy itself is a demonstration of Liberia's commitment to ensure that we have such institutions, technical institutions, that will provide the services that are seamless, and to make sure that we are integrated in the regional, the sub-regional and regional framework when it comes to trade. With that being said, why should you support the implementation of the Liberia Standards Act? One, it demonstrates the seriousness and the commitment of the government and the people of Liberia to ensuring that businesses, industries, and SMEs in Liberia exploit the vast opportunities of regional and global market through trade. The Act also, if implemented, will help to provide a means for sustainable development as enshrined in the arrest and agenda for inclusive development. You may be aware that the Liberia Standards Authority is a key pillar of the arrest agenda, come with the responsibility that we should put into place a certification program and accreditation program for government operations and also for the private sector. So with that being said, it is our endeavor by this coming year, for example, to work with PPCC to ensure that public procurement are no longer just done because of price, but because of quality. How many of us have thought that government pay a huge sum to buy goods and services? But have you ever asked if those goods and services are based on specification? Have we ever asked that even, for example, ACs that are bought, how long do they spend for? We want to make sure that as government spent money, it should be based on value because they are taxpayer money. So we are going to work with PPCC to make sure that whatsoever prescriptions or standards, Liberian standards are needed to make sure vendors are also evaluated by those standards, are also enshrined in our PPCC procurement system, just for an example of what it is. So it helps in such a way that we have sustainable development and to ensure, that the Liberian people deserve the best in everything. It also ensures that the citizens, consumer, and environment are well protected against substandard product, process, and practices. Every one of you here know one of the major issues, for example, that have been asked over the years I've been with the Ministry of Commerce as director of the National Standards Laboratory is the issue of substandard goods. And today for us to have the Act being implemented, it demonstrates government commitment to ensure that goods coming from outside of Liberia entering the spheres of our trade, they are of standards, no matter what, because our environment needs to be protected. The next thing, citizens need to be protected, and to ensure that those who are consuming such products, they are not exposed to health hazards. Ladies and gentlemen and members of the press, I just want to go over some of the functions and who we are, the key services, but I've made some photocopies to distribute in the press so that you will have details of what we have been said. Who are we? We are responsible, we are the apex body when it comes to standardization. Yeah. So anything called standards, we are responsible to provide it. That means we work with government institutions and also the private sector to ensure that standards are provided. Our vision is to become a competent authority that meets the standardization needs of Liberia. So the information bulletin that we shared, we have our contact, the customer service contact, and we have the key services that we have in place, and also you can see some of the coordination that we are doing across in Liberia. And also you will have our key functions, just for your knowledge sake, in case you want to dive deeper to know our key functions and responsibilities. With that being said, again, I want to say thank you to the MICAT team and to the Honorable Minister. This is our entry point. We'll continue to use this platform. We guess the second time we'll be here is ready to talk on our program and the achievements thus far, and then talk about our strategic plan that we have drafted. And that being said, I want to say thank you.
So I know you have to do your questions and answers. And I'm sure Mr. Sanos still got a point to make before that. But since I didn't have the chance to formally welcome Steven to MICAT, I just thought it's important to do because about 24 years ago, exactly 2001, I was a student leader at the University of Liberia. And many of you here maybe were young, 24 years is no small time. Some of you may be closer to maybe your late 20s or so. But there was something that happened that year. At that time, Mr. Taylor was president. And we were in the student leadership, and our campus was invaded by different batches of government troops. And after that invasion, a group of student leaders, about 21, left the country and went into exile. The larger group of the students went to Ghana. The smaller group, of which I was a part, went to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And we were taken to a refugee camp called Oru Refugee Camp. And there I met Mr. Mambu as a young man. At that time, he was doing a lot of pastoral activity. All Billy was coming. I'm sure he's still doing that. So I'm sure we didn't know that by virtue of destiny, both of us would have been providing national leadership in different sectors of the government. So I just wanted to give you a little narration and to say, Stephen, especially that long history of knowing you 24 years ago, I welcome you to our ministry ahead. Make this your home, because we have a policy of wanting the government to save more than what we do. No one is going to do it for us. No talk show anywhere will do it for us to save ourselves. And the platform that has been established to do just that is this. So we've always encouraged government officials, sector heads, to come here to tell your story. So I hope this first coming is an open door, and you'll see the need to come as regularly as possible so the people of our country can know why exactly you and your team doing at the National Standard Authority. Thank you.
So before we entertain the questions from the press, I have to emphasize one point I initially left out. We talk about making Liberia the destination for investment. And to do so, the government is leading the charge, creating an enabling environment to make the country attractive so that those out there who got money, they want to do business, they can see Liberia as that destination. The week before last, we were in Ghana attending the investment conference for Liberia. It was organized by the Liberian Embassy in Ghana. And that event was graced by prospective investors in Liberia. Today I have to announce to you that the government of Liberia, through the National Investment Commission, has received an expression of interest from a very powerful group that is involved in a hospitality business across Africa. They want to come to take over the Hotel Africa facility. That facility was built in 1979. They hosted the OAU conference. After the conference, it was given to a private entity to manage up to 1999 or thereabouts. From that time up to present, that facility has been in room. It has been encroached upon by illegal occupants. And so the National Investment Commission has informed us that we have received an expression of interest from people who want to take over Hotel Africa. The details are emerging, and we provide them to you, the public, as they are given to us. But we just want to let you know that the government is not resting. We are exploring every means possible to revive some of these facilities that will make the tourism industry the boom. Of course, some of you know what the Hotel Africa used to be. The pre-war standards of the Hotel Africa cannot be compared to none. And the working, it is what it is now. So these were projects that were dormant, and the government is now working to ensure that they can be revived and contribute to the economy, to the tourism sector of the country. I thought to make that point. So we're giving more details on the Hotel Africa, but the Land Authority, the Investment Commission has written the Land Authority, and basically they want to inquire how the occupants are currently there, how they got there, and just some details about the property they want to know about it. So I will stop there. We take questions from the press. Please make sure